Hey guys, George at SoundTraxx here. This week we're going to start a little mini-series. We're going to talk about the app that the Blunami uses. We're going to show you some of the great improvements that we've made on the new app, including where you can find certain things and how to access some of your settings. So guys, let's get started. Well, as many of you guys know, I've been a big advocate for the Blunami. Now, this has more to do with just the fact that I'm paid, but it is actually because I've been a hobbyist for many, many years, since I was 14. And now with the Blunami, this solves so many of the problems that I hear from customers all the time complaining about setting CVs or doing this or making this adjustment. And then there's other times where I'll talk to somebody on the phone and they'll say, how do I do XYZ? And then you give them the CVs and they say, okay, I'll just live without it. No, you don't have to. I just literally told you how to fix it. But because people are so afraid of CVs, they tend to be a little apprehensive. And that's why I'm really pushing Blunami, is because the Blunami takes all of the CVs that the Decoder has built into it to give you all of the access to all the features, but hides it behind a clean user interface. And this little mini series, we're going to dive into the new app here to show you all the cool settings. Now, on this particular setting, I'm using my personal iPhone, and we're going to go ahead and use that to see what's going on. But everything I'm doing here on the iPhone is also applicable to the Android version. I just happen to have an iPhone personally. So with that, you can see my screen, and you can see that I've got my BNSF ET44AC dialed up there on the screen. So we're going to go ahead and hit connect. And that's going to be the first thing you want to do. Normally your first Blunami will say Blunami V1.0, and I'm going to show you how to rename that here really quickly. So now we're connected. So at the bottom here you have standard, which gives you control of a single locomotive at a time, or you can go to multi-train screen, which will give you control of up to 3 locomotives on the screen itself. For today's exercise, we're going to go ahead and start in standard, which is 1 locomotive at a time. So once you connect, it's going through and reading all the CVs to make sure that the menus in the app match the settings that are done on the decoder. Now remember, the decoder is still a DCC decoder. So if I wanted to control it with my NCE power cab or make changes to it, I can still do it, but then this way the app matches the last changes that have been made. Now you'll see my operating screen here. You can see that I have the headlight there at the top. We have our bell. And then we have our short horn. And then of course the long horn, which will play as long as we hold the button down. And will trigger the bell. So with that, you can also see the loco stop, which will send a 0 command. And then you have the direction below that, the forward or reverse. You can change directions. Then you have the big green knob there, and that actually is your throttle. You can move it up and down to govern the speed with your finger or your thumb, or you can tap above it for 1 speed step at a time, or you can tap the plus minus for changing speed steps. That way you can kind of more accurately know how fast you're going. Now at the top here, there's a stop all button, and then you can see the arrows that are grayed out a little bit. That allows you to toggle and cycle through to other locomotives. But here on my test track, I've only got the 1, so that's why they're grayed out, since there are no other locomotives attached. Now, down on the bottom here, you see FCN. We're going to go ahead and press that, and you're going to see that all the functions now come up, and they're all labeled. So no more trying to remember function 4 does this, function 8 does this, function 10 does this, function 12 or 14 does that, or 16 or 22, and then how do you access it with all the buttons? All the functions here are labeled. And you can see that I've got my RPM plus and minus, dimmer, brake application. You can see F9 is there because I've unused the F9 because I've remapped these to my personal tastes, and so forth. So you can go in, and we're going to show you in this series how you can make all those changes. But this is how you access it. So there at the top, you see functions 0 through 14. And then the next to that, in the blue box, you see 15 to 28. When you tap that, now you can see the other set of functions, and they're all laid out for you. Handbrake, fuel loading, and so forth, all the way up to function 28. So they're easily accessible. And then when, say, for example, I turn on my ditch lights, I hit the FX3, and you'll notice that the ditch lights come on. Well, maybe you can't see it from that angle, but the ditch lights are on. And you can see that the button's highlighted, so you know quickly which butt functions are already on or off, just based on looking at the screen. Now, the next thing I want to take you to here is the gear setting, and that's where we're going to start today's episode. So we're going to push the gear down here on the bottom, and that's going to take you to the settings menu. This is where you're going to make all of your changes. And some of the first ones I want to start off here are the general settings. So when we click on the general settings here at the top, you can see Loco Nickname. And that's where you can rename your locomotive. So here, I've got it labeled as BNSF, whoops, I can't spell, BSFN, or BSNF for whatever reason, ET44AC. So I'm going to show you how to fix this. You would have thought that was planned, but it wasn't. I just can't spell. But you click on that and it says Loco Nickname, so we're going to go over here and fix this. And we just hit OK, and then it's going to update, and then we can do the same thing here. BNSF. Okay. So now your locomotive name has been updated. So now you can call it whatever you want. If you want to call it Charlie, you certainly can. But now you're going to go through here. Next is your DCC address. You can simply type in a 2-digit or a 4-digit number, depending on what you want. You just type it right there, and the app will set the DCC address for you. So if you do want to use this thing to run your train, you can still do it using the DCC address. Next, it'll talk about the decoder type, show you that it's a GE21P NEM8, decoder version, decoder ID. Now, here's a couple of things you want to pay attention to. On disconnect, let's say for argument's sake, the decoder goes out of range. Do you want it to continue running, or do you want it to stop? Well, on this particular case, I have it continue, but you can just check the stop button and it'll stop. But I want to leave it as continue. Next one is auto connect or manual. Usually in this particular case, I like to manually connect it, so that way I can leave it there. And then the stop all method can either be the speed step 0 or the e-stop. And again, these are settings you can decide for your own personal. Now, a couple of things here down on the bottom part, this global auto CV scan, you can disable that. So if you just want to connect to your loco and start running it, you can certainly do that. You can uncheck that. This is one that really gets people a lot, this throttle type. Normal throttle is what we just saw with the big green knob. But if you click outdoor, now when I go back to my, now when I go back to my screen, you can see that now I can move, I can either swipe up or swipe down, or I can tap it. And the idea of it being outdoors, because with all the sun and light reflecting, it may be hard to see where the green knob is. So this way you can tap on upper and lower half of the screen. Entirely up to you. But this is forward and reverse, so you can change that. But I personally like the continued normal throttle, so we're going to go ahead and check that. Now, if you swipe, you can swipe up, and it'll move X number of speed steps. So in this case, it's defaulted at 3. You can certainly change that. Multicolor train themes, if you want to change the color for background, so in multi-train screen, you see different colors for each locomotive. You can certainly check that. I tend to like it. This one here is another one, the debug view. Now, when I click that and we go back to our screen, and this happens more in the multi-train here. You can see over on the side, there's a series of commands that are coming through. So every time I send a command, turn on and off a light, you can see those commands populating. You as the end user don't need the debug view because you're not the software programmer. So you can just go in and reset that. Now you can see I'm in multi-train screen. So you can see where I would have 3 locomotive throttles right there in front and access to all the buttons and things that we had prior. So we're going to go ahead and change that. We're going to go to General Settings. We're going to turn off the debug view. And now when we go back, you'll see that that screen is gone. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the first menu settings that you can go through and make some adjustments. But they're common questions that we've already been getting here at SoundTraxx when people open up the app. So this is give you some basic information to kind of get some start on playing with the app. Now, we're going to take each step of this all the way through to kind of show you where everything's at so you can get a lay of the land and how to fix and adjust your decoder. Because after all, the app is your gateway to running your trains, and we want to teach you and make sure you understand the benefits of using the Blunami app so that way you can just relax, enjoy, and have fun running your trains. So with that, that's everything I've got this week. Thanks for watching. If you have a comment or question, please leave it in the comment section below. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. If you're not subscribed, why? What else can we do to get your subscription? We try to give you as much information as we can to make these fun and entertaining. So be sure to subscribe, help us out a little bit. And with that, that's everything I've got. If you have any other further questions, you can also call us or email us here at the office, and we'll be happy to help answer anything we can. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.